friends. I'm Dakian. This is my update for Monday, the 11th of July, 2016. And possibly the first time ever I have to report nothing has been finished. Well, that's not strictly speaking true, because I've finished a whole whack ton of minis the past week, but they were all part of the Getting the Light Out project, which has its own separate series of videos. So apart from that, I haven't finished anything. I'm still working on these two, the Victorias for the Victoria's Avatar. I think there's a little bit more done than last week. I think I finished the hair and done some more metallic work and maybe the skin tones a little bit more than last time you saw them. But, you know, work continues. They'll get done when I'm done with that other project. I have done a little bit more on this piece of scenery, though. In fact, this loose piece here, which rests as a floor here, I have finished this. I've painted both sides of it, and this is kind of a test piece. I'm trying out the techniques I want to use on the complete thing. You might notice that there's a little bit of new paint here and there, but mainly what I've done to this is I've added these two bits here. These two, well, they're actually bits of sprue that I've simply cut down and glued on because I want some extra support for this extra floor. You see, if I don't, I don't want to glue it in place because it has two sides, and I want to be able to flip it over and get some variety in it. And let's see. You see, there's a big hole here, and I didn't feel it was stable enough without this little beam here, so I added that. So it can be this way, or I can flip it over. Is this correct? Well, I suppose it could be like that and have the hole there, or turn it around. And have the hole. This is, yeah, this way is, this is lower, so it's not going to work. No matter. It can be this way. That's okay. I think this side turned out better anyway. I tried two different ways of painting the gray, and I like the one on this side better. So that's what I'm going to go with for the main model. Yeah, so that is all that has been accomplished. Let's move on to my thoughts for the future. So I do need to start looking towards the future and start thinking about what to prep next, because by this time next week I gotta be finished with that Getting the Light Out project. So what do I need to paint? What do I have use for? Well, I've already painted up a whole new crew for Malifaux that I haven't even played yet, so I don't feel any rush to do even more Malifaux right now. And the Call of Cthulhu campaign is winding down. There's 1 or 2 sessions left in that, and after that I'm going to play Dungeons and Dragons again. I'm planning to DM the Curse of Strahd campaign, which takes place in Ravenloft. So I need more D&D monsters, specifically undead and or other spooky stuff, which is why I dug up this box. I think I've showed you this once before when it arrived. This is a Kickstarter I backed for Heresy miniatures for a bunch of various stuff. These are some flying creatures, even more of those. Here's some, I think they're called leaping lurkers, some sort of ghoulish creatures, even more of those, and some succubi, and a vampire. in two forms, a vampire in human form and a vampire which is sort of half transformed into a bat here. And, you know, I think these can all be relevant in Ravenloft. Also, I picked out a few minis from another Kickstarter. This is from a company called Harwood Hobbies. And, well, first off, we have Ellie here. Now, Ellie is just a civilian, like a villager, dressed in this sort of late medieval, early Renaissance clothing, which I think is appropriate. That's kind of the period feel I get from Ravenloft. And we have Evil Ellie, which is if she's bitten and transformed into a vampire. This is Ellie as a vampire spawn. And then we have Adriana the Gypsy. And of course there are gypsies in Ravenloft. They're not called gypsies, they're called Vistani, but you know, they're gypsies. So some characters like that could be useful. So these are the models I'm looking at. And if everything goes according to plan, I will have at least prepped and primed some of these next week. Let's see what else we have. Okay, time for some more archaeological research. If your memory serves you really well, you might remember a video some months ago where I showed you that I discovered some old paints in my basement, some between 20 and 25 years old paints. And now I've decided to bring some of those pots up and try to use them. And I got a selection of general use stuff first, and I've been opening them up and see what I can make of them. First we have these two Partha paints from Ralph Partha, back when they did paints. The black and the white. The black, turns out, is perfectly usable. It's still in great condition. A little thick, but paints were thick back in the day. And with some thinning, it will serve me perfectly well. The white had gotten a bit hard. You can see it started to dry around the edges here. And you can look. I've been trying to stir it, and it's not forming an even surface. That indicates that it's really, really thick. It's really only usable for dry brushing at this point, and I've tried, and it's possibly a little bit thick even for that. Maybe with some thinners, I can make this paint shine again. The others are unmarked, and these are the same kind of pots as the Partha paints. If I recall correctly, I bought these empty pots because I had those armory paints which came in glass pots, and they were not very good. The glass pots did not keep a good seal, and they were unwieldy, and so I transferred some paints to these empty plastic pots, and I believe these are all armory paints to begin with. And first off, this chainmail color is perfectly fine. As you can see, it still flows well. Nothing wrong with that. And we have a bunch, I'm not going to open them all up. There's two off-whites, a sort of very, very light beige and a very, very light gray. They're also perfectly fine. This light gray is okay. There's less of it, but yeah, I think I can still use this. Unfortunately, this dark gray is not salvageable. It turns out, I don't know if you can see all the way to the bottom, but it is, you can see there's very little of it, and the surface is cracked. It's hard as rock, and I think I'm gonna have to throw this out. I don't think I can salvage the pot for anything. Maybe I'll put it, let it just soak in water for a day or two and see if I can maybe reuse the pot itself for something. So that was the result of my first experiments with these. And despite me not showing many minis in this episode, you can see the number painted has risen quite rapidly. That's because of the getting the lead out project, which has really gotten the lead out this past week. So check out that series of videos if you want to know why. But for my final show and tell, I'm going to show you some new arrivals. There's a mixed bag of stuff here. First off, I picked up one more of these big monster kits from the D&D Collectors series by Gale Force 9. This is the Ramble, which is a kind of frost worm, snake, lizard thing. It's actually, as it says here, it's based on heat, not cold, but it uses heat to burrow through the ice. That's why it has heat coming off these spines there. Interesting model, I hope to build sometime in the future. More D&D stuff. Didn't I say at some point that I was swearing off bones? Well, if you recall what I said exactly, was that I'm not going to paint any more character minis, no human scale minis in bones and bonesium material, because it doesn't hold the detail well enough. But for the bigger monsters, I think this material is okay. It's not as good as metal or resin or hard plastic, but it's okay, especially considering the much lower cost. So I have 3 ogres here. Well, this guy's an ogre, this guy's also an ogre. This is actually an Etten, which is a 2-headed giant, and let's see if we can see it. There's a head there, well, a dual head that you glue onto the neck. And these are really good sculpts. These are miniatures that Reaper originally produced in metal. You can still get them in metal, but as I said, the bones are much cheaper. And finally, I added to my Malifaux first edition collection. I got another set of Ronin. I've already painted these models, but I want the chance to have a second try at them sometime in the future, so I just picked up this blister, and I'm putting it away for the future. The rest of these are all various totems for various masters. The Hollow Waif is for Leviticus, Mechanical Attendant is for Hoffman, and the Copycat Killer is Seamus, a little totem. So I own all the 3 masters that these belong to, but I didn't have these totems before, so good addition to my collection. Well, that was it for this Monday, and hopefully by next Monday I will finally be finished with the big getting the let out project, and I can finally start moving on to other stuff. That's my hope. We'll just have to see how it turns out. Until then, I'm Dakian, signing off.